Hello, everyone. It is my great delight and pleasure to announce you all that last night or yesterday evening, for me in Melbourne, for most of you probably early morning, some midnight, the Council of Delegates at the World Congress Neurology meeting, we elected the new president to start office or commence work as the president, World Federation Neurology, January 2022. We are delighted to warmly welcome new president, Professor Wolfgang Grisold. Professor Grisold, thank you for giving your time to us on behalf of World Federation Neurology. We welcome you from both hands with great delight as our new president. How are you today? You are very well known to the World Federation Neurology community, but for those people who are not aware of you, I want you to tell them a little bit about you.
Thank you, Tissa. And first of all, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity for my first interview. I'm delighted. And of course, just a few words about myself. My name is Wolfgang Grisold. I'm Austrian. I've been born in Vienna. I work in Vienna. And I've been interested in neuropathology, neurophysiology, and this has influenced me very much in my work with neuromuscular disease and also neuro-oncology. Also, I have always been interested, continuously interested in patients and clinical work, and also in advocacy for patients, whether you call it advocacy, which we do now, whether we call it taking care of patients. This is one of my let's say, main working aims and goals.
Professor Grisold, I had the good fortune of knowing you for more than a decade now through your advocacy work because of our common interests. I would like to ask my next question as the newly appointed president, responsible for member organizations of probably going to be like 125 countries when the new member countries join us, making this the largest global organization that is basically responsible for advocating for better brain health worldwide. And we are in these unprecedented times in COVID-19 pandemic and rest of the other problems that the challenges that we face. How do you feel to take over the presidency or the presidentship of this massive organization at this challenging time, probably the most challenging time of humans or humanity as far as we can remember, looking forward to the next 4 years?
Yes, thank you. Well, let's put it this way, there are always challenging times, and I'm happy to take it over. So we'll be able to we have faced many difficulties, and we will do so. I must say that the house I will take over in January is well organized, and with my previous predecessors, and I start with Professor Ali and Hashinsky and Roger Keir and Bill Carroll, we have diversified and extended in many directions. So if you take it from the industry standpoint, we don't have a mono product, but we have several products. And practically each of our predecessors has turned and proceeded into a direction that is very useful now. As an example, we have a large educational branch. As an example, we have ties with the WHO that seem to be increasing. We have started to increasingly work with members and increasingly communicate with our members and regional societies. And I think these are just examples of our ties we have. There are others, of course. But this means that we have a good basis. You mentioned 125. Well, not yet, but I think for the decision from yesterday, we have 123 and hoping to have more. And my A special hope is that we will increasingly also have members from Africa and from other continents where we are not represented enough. We need members, and we be very happy to advocate and to help and to work for neurologic purposes in these regions. So I think, to summarize your questions, I think there are challenges. The COVID crisis has shown us that despite the crisis, neurology strives, and we are quite happy, or we were quite happy, that we were able to use all new communications and have new generations of young neurologists who are just IT educated, that we can do that. So I see this as not only as a threat, but also as an incentive to move forwards in several aspects.
Absolutely. You and me have been part of World Brain Day campaign from the very beginning, and we both know that now World Federation Neurology and World Brain Day are almost household names worldwide, irrespective of the language people talk. People sing, people dance, people tweet, people write about brain that we haven't seen before. My next question is, we are about to enter the first ever completely virtual World Congress Neurology. Again, completely unprecedented territory, uncharted territory, unprecedented opportunity at the same time, as you replied to my first question in an upbeat way, that we should look at the positives rather than negatives. What is your message to the members who would be traveling through this virtual world? How do you want them to connect with each others in this virtual world from wherever they are coming from?
Yeah, that's a difficult question, but I will start again with the positive. I think we have a virtual Congress, and what we have seen from other societies, it's doable, and it's fantastic how the technology is helping us. And I'm always compare it with sitting in the first row and making screenshots, which is usually forbidden, but you have a wonderful view, you have a wonderful audio, and you have high quality lectures that work very well. The communication is usually just question and answers. That's really a pity. And I think technology will help us soon in the near future. I predict, I cannot develop it myself, that we will also have some live interactions that could be more. So this is the positive sign. And I've organized a few educational days electronically with the World Federation, with the Congress of Neuromuscular Disease, and they worked very well. What I think is, of course, and as I'm saying this so euphemistically, I was at the first live Congress since 1 year, 2 days ago, on palliative care neurology. And yes, it is nice to talk with your colleagues after the meeting and exchange things which you would never do in the chat, and create new concepts or get some ideas and notions that you would never dare to put on the internet. So I think we need both. I do think, and this is also very prophetically, I do think that if hopefully this endemic and all its sequelae are subsiding, which is unfortunately not the case yet, we should return to real meetings or normal meetings. But I do think we should take some of the hybrid concepts to us. I don't know which one, and if you talk to a PCO and discuss hybrid, they just sigh and say, oh, what do you mean? So some people mean it's one video and the Congress, others mean it's more videos and a little Congress, so we don't know. But I think for our purpose and for the purpose of the World Federation of Neurology, it would be extremely valuable that some of our congresses could be streamed with important topics also to countries who could not travel, could not afford to travel. So I see an opportunity in the development of this technology, as I said before.
Absolutely. We had the good fortune of having you joining our recently concluded Lands Godsby Symposium, which I haven't updated you how it went. We had about 450 plus participants. they introduced a mobile phone application where all the talks can be downloaded and watched on their own time. I'll share the link with you after this interview. It's just fantastic. You're absolutely right. We might keep some of the things that we are learning now for the future. I remember when we were having coffee after some of the World Congress meetings, when we had some spare time, you were always greatly passionate about e-brain or sort of pathways to bring education to much needed places. We must have exchanged a lot of ideas on this theme, not knowing that we would be living in the middle of a pandemic at that time. And I was thinking when we were developing these e-contents out of Lansgoats, how true that those ideas have become today. So let's be optimistic on them and remind our members to, as much as possible, engage with each other, even in virtual environment. Two of us greatly enjoyed each other's company, discussing about our own family matters, sometimes mostly neurological matters, which turn towards a number of successful projects over the years, benefiting a lot of patients. So connections are very useful. My next question is, as the newly appointed president, what do you think are the key priority areas for global neurology in the coming years? I know this is an unprepared question for you, but just share your ideas with us at this point of time. You can elaborate them later on when you take the office and when you take us through to the future.
Yeah, well, it's difficult to foresee the future, but I think what has been done is that neurology has been started to be implemented more definitely and more safely into the WHO nomenclature. And I may remind you, this was before on Professor Roger Keir's presidency. The implementation of stroke into the ICD-11 was a great step forward. And now the IGAP, which is carried out by Professor Gücht and Professor Carroll, is trying the same to increase the position of neurology in the WHO. And this seems so trivial. And why is it not trivial? The point is that the WHO more or less guides all countries in their health activities. And this simple mentioning implementation of neurology is one point that is, I think, extremely important, that it cannot be neglected and we cannot just oversee this, and we have to continue on that. And we need to be a constant and a firm player into the orchestra of global medicine. We are, in fact. How do we do it? What else is important? We know that some of countries do not have neurology implemented anywhere in their curriculum, in their academic training, if they have academic training at all. So it's important that neurology is going to be presented everywhere. That's very important. And I do think that it will be a vital role also of our education committee to suggest let's say, a global curriculum. There are many resistances to do that, not to overrule someone, not to have a better curriculum than the other, but due to the communications we had with several of our members who have not implemented a curriculum yet, I feel there is a need for that, and that we should give structure where people could say what the minimum outfits or medium outfits are for teaching of neurology. This brings me to education, and there is not enough that you can do for education anywhere. So we have training centers with department visits, and I think this was good. This was a wonderful start, and we have to work on this, to improve this, also increase it. We do not have a training center in Asia, which we need to change. These are a few things. Publication is important, but that goes with education. And of course, education goes also with young people. And I think it's important that the World Federation becomes more attractive for young neurologists, which is in regard to education, that's one thing, but also in regard to ideas that we need. But I also think, and that's very important, I also think that we have to take care of the, how to say, the middle group, the middle age group, those who are not young neurologists and those who are not advanced neurologists, but those who are in becoming advanced neurologists. And this is a very important group, let's say early neurologists or middle career neurologists. And I do think we need some idea how to bring in these people in regard to advocacy and to leadership. And I think this would be very important to have that. Another thing which I think is important is patient's voice, and we have to listen to the patient's voice, and we also have to incorporate this into our proceedings.
I think you hit the nail on head with those comments. I completely agree, and the education is paramount, and the Asia need dedicated the center as such to advocate for this. I also agree that despite the difficulties of coming up with a common curriculum, we could probably take a leap out of European the countries, despite the different cultures and different backgrounds. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I am of the understanding that the European Academy of Neurology did manage to come up with some sort of a common curriculum for almost all European countries, isn't it? The other issue is, I think the current pandemic and the virtual world possibly giving us an opportunity to test the water on the basically promoting the basic infrastructure for that sort of a curriculum. Say, for an example, Movement Disorders Society has basic the movement disorders program or educational program that they want their members to follow. International Headache Society has, despite the criticisms, basic curriculum that they want headache interested neurologist medical students, trainees to follow. Perhaps we could encompass all those things and come up with some sort of broader backbone. I think it is a challenge, probably a challenge for the new education committee that you would put forward from next year onwards. The Professor Grisold, I'm going to ask a series of questions.
May I retort something? May I retort something to this? I'm aware of the European curriculum, and it has started actually with the UEMS, with the European Board of Neurology, and I was part in that, and it has been significantly improved with EN. And it's a large curriculum that is interesting, good, and I'm also aware that there are some curricula from other societies. I always think what we need is, we need something basic that would be applicable everywhere. Many countries would, of course, be over that anyway, if they have neurology already. And I always compare this development of curriculum with a German fighter plane that was called Starfighter. That was an excellent plane and flew wonderfully in America, but in a country where it was bought and equipped electronically with too many things, it just didn't fly, or it just crashed all the time. So we have to be careful if we do that, to do this in a sober, simple way that could be applied in those people in need. So let's say, look for the minimum more, then look for the maximum, would be my feeling about this curriculum.
I agree. It is very much like what late Professor Ted Munsat mentioned, wasn't it? The inspiring talk that we both attended a few months back. As Marco Medina mentioned, that when he played that video clip, Ted was basically mentioning that the idea is each country to advocate for it, and our mission is to implant the idea and produce the infrastructure, but we want individual countries to bake the cake with the ingredients that they have to suit their population and their country. And at the end of the day, we are all in one mission, the same mission. We want quality neurology, quality care for our patients, wherever they are, whatever the color of the patient, whatever the language that they use, whatever the type of house that they dwell in. We want human beings to protect their brain health as best as possible, whether it is black or white or European or non-European or Asian or non-Asian, doesn't really matter.
Yes, and I also think, I mean, from the little experience I have with my Africa visits, the needs for neurology in some countries, and I'm sorry if I just go to Africa only, because I'm sure worldwide I neglect some continents now. The need is unimaginable. If you imagine a country where there are 30 million or 40 million people and there's one neurologist or two, then it's arbitrary to speak about neurology. So we need to encourage those countries to implement neurology as good as they can. And of course, we are aware that it's all a matter of money and of needs and of budget, but implement neurology at some levels will be very important.
Absolutely. And if we live in a world with 100 million stroke survivors, 50 million dementia patients, 1 billion plus migraine patients, 1 billion plus tension type headache patients, about 16 million Parkinson's disease patients, about 3 million multiple sclerosis patients, then obviously the need for neurology in every country would be beyond our dictionary, and it goes without saying. Last couple of questions, Professor Grisold. I'm sorry, I'm going to bombard you with series of questions, but I'll throw one question.
Continue. I'm ready to go. Don't worry.
I'll throw one question at a time. You have seen how myself and my good friend Walter Struhal grown within World Federation Neurology. We joined World Federation Neurology during our much younger days. We were sort of beavering away on young neurologist groups in each of our region. And then we hopefully become useful workers for the World Federation Neurology and for the world. That's an example of how critically important young neurologists for the society. But the thinking from the global point of view. So what is your message to young neurologists and young neurology trainees to the embrace World Federation Neurology and be part of what we do and be part of our future and be prepared to take the lead roles when it is ready in time to come? It doesn't happen overnight, but they need to get involved. What is your message to them at this point of time?
Yes, I think I mentioned this before. I think we definitely need to structure the pathway to the World Federation for Young Neurologists. And I think we had once had a group that was called Young Neurologists, but as you mentioned, you and Tissa have, and Walter have of course, and they're not young neurologists, they're arrived neurologists, they are neurologists with power. So this is an excellent template of how we foster that. And this is one thing. So what the first message is that we will try, or what I have in mind is that we will ask our regional societies to contribute with young people for a body, probably a committee that takes care of this question. This is one thing. The other thing is, and of course it is important that these people also have some possible sites or some possible missions, how they can work with us and grow into the society. And this is something we have to carve and define. And it's easily said, but not so easily done. And the second point is, we also have a large group of people who are not young neurologists, but not old neurologists. Old neurologists, I count myself to that group too. But let's say a group in the middle of the career, and also these people who have an enormous knowledge and enormous experience. We also need to create some possibilities for them to get engaged with us. That's very vital, and I think we'll all consult on this and work on this, but I definitely have it in my mind to increase this.
And we should probably embrace students' interest in neurology also, isn't it? Medical students, the industry
Yes,
organization.
this is a little not so easy. I mean, first of all, from the other way, I think students should be very much in the remit of World Federation, as I'm training our students, and it's not only residents but also students in neurology. That's one point. The other point is that we have some connections with some student organizations like IFSMA, and we also wrote the curriculum for them for department kind of visits. Dr. Steve Sergey and myself, and then Stephen Lewis wrote that. So we have some, and it should be clearly rejuvenated. The problem is with the student organizations that the students are advancing and graduating, and usually from year to year or every 2 years, there's a new leadership, which makes these things a little bit more difficult. But I think it needs to be overcome too.
The Professor Grisold, your message to industry partners, when I say industry, pharmaceutical industry, publishing companies, information technology companies, PCOs, or those conference organizations, overarching all those industry partners. We both know that industry is a key part of growth of any professional body. Is there any message that you would like to mention how you wanted this relationship to grow, benefiting the overall brain health globally? Anything that you could think of?
Yes, I mean, quite clearly there is a partnership between industry and all scientific societies worldwide. We have more or less our congresses would not be possible without the support of industry, and I think we will try to. We have to try to be even more attractive to industry for exhibitions, for satellite symposia, which who find our congress really valuable to do that. We will remain the policy of austerity, of direct sponsoring of the World Federation, because we have been independent, and this is one of the great things of the World Federation, that we kept our independence in many ways, and this way will be pursued. And I do think that these quite strict differentiations between industry that has been demonstrated by the Americans, by the American Academy, that has been demonstrated by the EN, and has been demonstrated, and I think I'm very glad that we have this template, by the UEMS, by the European Monospecialist section, who is also accrediting our Congress this year, and also accrediting for the Americans and for the Canadians. They have quite severe, strict, and adherent policies, and I think this will be a good template to follow. Partnership will, of course, be always possible, and we look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Professor Grisold. My next question is, I am well aware how much an ardent advocate you are to bring the best care for your patients as best as possible. That's how two of us got to know each other's some times back. You were very vocal and active even during GPAC, the way before the World Brain Day campaign. So what do you want to say to patients and caregivers at this point of time? What can they expect under your leadership within the next couple of years?
Yes, thank you. I think for the book we wrote, and you also did a wonderful chapter about advocacy in neurology, the main sentence, if I summarize the book, is knowledge and science is not enough. And by this, I mean that, of course, we neurologists, we tend to be very scientifically driven. We have a lot of knowledge, we have skills, but we also need advocacy skills. And advocacy skills are something that are implicit to our work. They are something altruistic. And the second message is that we don't need to have a, let's say, a specific advocacy privilege for neurologists, but everyone can be an advocate, everyone. And that's important because what I see from many patient organizations, self-advocacy, empowering of patients is something that is moving fast ahead. And I do think the World Federation should be helpful in this and also encourage this. And in some diseases, knowledge in science is simply not enough, but patients also have other problems as taking which pills or which therapies. They also have social problems, contact problems, care problems that we as doctors are not even aware of sometimes. So I think advocacy as a whole concept is important. It's used now very commonly, but strictly speaking, it's a very altruistic activity. And I want to say this again to all neurologists who listen, it's implicit. If you're a neurologist, you have some advocacy mission in you.
Professor Grisold, my last question, you would be pleased to hear that. My last question is, the preamble for last question is, you became the president with the member countries voting in an historic way as, to my understanding or my knowledge, this is the largest ever voting that World Federation Neurology ever had. To remind our viewers that World Federation Neurology is a very democratic society. We have specific bylaws. Just because someone wanted to become president, they can't become president by power or any other influence. Each member country has to vote them in. That's how the sort of core leadership of World Federation Neurology established. They have to be voted in. So you become history of World Federation Neurology by being appointed as the president with the largest number of voting being casted in the biannual election. So that gives you additional responsibility to you because now you are basically responsible for all these countries, those member countries who did not vote for you, those countries did vote for you. You are president for everybody. You are basically our president for the whole world. Keeping that responsibility in your shoulders, I want you to say your message to all these member countries. My reason for my question is I feel that this is basically showcasing how engaged each member country is with World Federation Neurology. That's why they joined in last night to participate in this voting and sat on that Council of Delegates meeting. It's a good thing. You and me both know that the member engagement is the most useful thing for a society to deliver its tasks. So my question to you is, what is your message to those member countries?
Yes, well, first of all, I'm aware that this was such a large quorum that voted, and there's joy in this, but there's also the strong responsibility. And of course, I know that in the future, we'll have to make decisions and we will have to guide the ship carefully. The ship is the World Federation, and some decisions will be approved by others, others will be not, but I hope that on the whole, we will manage to increase the influence, the power, and the use of the World Federation of Neurology. To have a mission, to have a statement is, I think, we all have one joint project. This is neurology, and neurology is not per se, but neurology is for patients and for carers. And our joint mission is to promote neurology and advocate neurology for patients and for carers. And I think this is the main mission that goes through the whole community that we saw yesterday.
I will make that wonderful statement even more simpler, if I may. So what Professor Grisold is saying is that he has a huge responsibility to make decisions and the support all these countries that represent World Federation of Neurology. But what he's saying is that we have a common mission or common vision or common theme, which he defined as neurology, which he defined as neurology for patients and carers. I'll redefine it to get to normal people and their head. This is, neurologists are the guardians of human brain. We are absolutely nothing without our brain health. This is the overall brain health for everybody. And that comes from the perspective of patients and caregivers. So we are here to protect your brain, and those people who are supporting those brains that are not very well at this point of time, to protect whatever the thing that is remaining as best as possible, and as much as possible to improve that globally. That's our life mission. And that's why someone become a neurologist who is, in my book, is a guardian of human brain, protecting its health and promoting its health as best as we can. And around that mission, we can all get together. We can work together as a one single large family. And that family's leader for the next 4 years is going to be Professor Wolfgang Grisold. I can assure you, all the members, that we will be in very safe hands, and he knows very well that he will be surrounded by strong, like-minded, passionate men and women from all kind of ages and all kind of color and all kind of cultural backgrounds. And I'm sure he would deliver the goods with the help of those people around him to bring highest quality neurology worldwide as best as we can. Our job is to support him and protect him and wish him all the very best, good health, so that the World Federation of Neurology can continue to do its tasks. With that, Professor Grisold, we wish you very best, and we hope you would have a terrific World Congress Neurology over the next couple of days. I'm sure many members would probably chat to you online. Many members would try and talk to you as best as possible. You're very popular among members, of course, and we hope that you would enjoy that company. And we look forward to seeing you face to face once we come out of this Congress, the pandemic eventually. And kind regards to your
summarizing words. Thank you for these summarizing words. I can only say all support needed from everyone, and try to communicate with me as much as you can. Of course, the day is only 24 hours, but I will try to organize it as well as I can, and don't hesitate to get in touch with me. Thank you very much.
All the very best. Good luck, and we'll see you around virtually during the next couple of days. Not too far for the opening ceremony.
Thank you.